Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's web conference. This is Dynamics 365 FastTrack Tech Talk. Today's topic, gamification. Today's web conference is being recorded on behalf of the Microsoft Corporation. If you do not consent to being part of a recorded session, please disconnect your line at this time. Attendees may access the web conference recording at this same registration site within 24 hours. We encourage you to use the messages panel at any time to ask questions regarding content or to request support. To do so, please click on the messages button at the bottom of your screen, type your question into the white text box, and then click on send. Our presenter will be responding to questions throughout the presentation. We also use the messages tab to post announcements to the audience. If you could please take a look there now for some important information regarding this event. Our event production team strives to be a leader in delivering online content. Please help us reach this goal by providing feedback. Near the end of the session, I'll post a survey URL in that messages tab, and we'd greatly appreciate it if you could take a moment to access that, enter in your email, and then provide us with your feedback on just a few short questions. All right, thank you for your patience during these few announcements. One moment while I get the recording started. Welcome to today's web conference. This is Dynamics 365 FastTrack Tech Talk. Today's topic is gamification. Presenting today from Microsoft, we have James Bamford, who is a FastTrack program manager. Okay, James, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Leslie. Good morning, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about gamification for Dynamics 365. The Dynamics 365 gamification solution is a solution that enables employees to participate in individual and team-based competitions that motivates them to achieve certain predefined KPIs by offering things like prizes, awards, privileges, and recognition. So today, our objectives are to discuss employee motivation, just also talk about why it's important to implement things like gamification. And then also, finally, we'll talk about the Microsoft Gamification Capabilities. First, let's go ahead and let's talk about employee motivation. When you talk about employee motivation, millions of people spend an entire workday just completely bored. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, year after year, going to work and just losing a bit of more and more neural activity as we go. So imagine if we could turn that around where people get to go to work and get excited about what they have to do, and as a result, they can do better. Just a little bit more each minute every single day. Well, today's employees operate in a more dynamic workplace with more complexities and distractions. As a result, a staggering 87% of employees worldwide are not engaged on their jobs. Of that 87%, about 1/3 are actually actively disengaged. So imagine if we could just increase that productivity by 5%. Imagine that number. That's huge. So even if we get up to 42, so really the answer to the ultimate question in life, the universe, and everything from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So research says that this trend will likely continue and accelerate. In fact, millennials are 3 times more likely to change jobs over the course of their career than the previous generations. So as a result of this mobility, organizations need to train and onboard at an increasingly rapid rate. Even more alarmingly, traditional tactics such as dangling financial incentives have proven to be ineffective in increasing the productivity and engagement because employees are more than ever seeking purpose and enjoyment over monetary rewards or even career advancement. So with that, traditional motivational methods are really no longer as effective, right? Those traditional methods include same old competitions, quarter after quarter, year after year, where individual awards are given out to the winners of those competitions. using things like leaderboards and ladders to show which employees are in the lead or really traditionally always in the lead, or also things like President's Club or Platinum Awards, etc. Really, those are all the traditional methods that we're trying to get away from. So this leads us to identify those individuals who really need motivation in order to be successful. I mean, as I mentioned, the people who need motivation are those who want to get something a little bit more out of competition. In most workplace competitions we see, it's really the same winners every time in traditional contests. The employees focused on winning for themselves rather than focusing on the overall organizational productivity, mostly due to those incentives that we already talked about. So those who do not think that they will win are pretty much disengaged very early in the competition. As we mentioned, if you think that the same person is going to win every single time, then why even bother? Or maybe they don't even value the prize that's being offered, right? So that's another problem that we need to tackle with employee motivation. So what that does is that kind of brings us to the question of why implement gamification at all? Well, there's many reasons why we should implement gamification. And one of those main reasons is to be able to turn work into play. So employee engagement is really a top priority for most organizations. In fact, it's not surprising that it was the #1 challenge cited by organizations in a survey conducted by Deloitte. Faced with declining employee engagement, organizations need a new game plan. So with that, let's go ahead and let's take a closer look at how Microsoft helps organizations improve employee engagement. Microsoft Dynamics 365 gamification kind of takes a unique, fun, and exciting approach to achieve immediate and sustained results. The solution turns work into play by letting employees team up to collaborate and compete in engaging games. So the results are kind of an increased productivity, performance, and adoption of business applications, the whole trifecta. And all this sounds like a lot of fun, and it is. But gamifying also pays off. According to analyst research, best-in-class organizations are 61% more likely to deploy gamification. Those with gamification saw 31% more first-year sales reps achieve their quota and 2 times that year over year in deal size. So first thing to talk about. Microsoft's gamification solution uses exciting team-based competitions to change that culture. And as a result, employees push and rely on each other while also having a great time. So top performers push and rely on lower performers and vice versa. So when there's a culture where everybody feels responsible to those around them, then employees stay engaged a lot longer than if they were just focused on their own performance. And with multiple roles such as players and fans, really everyone in the organization can play. So sales reps and agents can be players, while managers and executives can be the fans. And employees can earn points really for anything that they're responsible for. For example, they can earn points for every sales call that they make, every time they arrive on time at a field service call, and the quality of the call while handling a customer service phone call by the customer service agent. So by allowing employees really to earn points and compete based on activities and behaviors that they control, it really helps mitigate player dropout. So when employees have full control over their day-to-day activities and behaviors, they stay in contention longer. And as a result, scoring the game is a cinch with out-of-the-box integration with Dynamics 365. Secondly, results are highly visible to hold everyone accountable, and recognition is also highly visible. You can showcase top employees by streaming results and rankings to big screens across the office or the call center. The added social pressure kind of helps give an extra boost to the lower performers, and it allows them to celebrate achievements with really great fanfare by using videos of fireworks, touchdowns, champagne bottles popping, whatever. All that comes out of the box with Microsoft Gamification. And then also multiple prizes and rewards can be awarded, which also helps boost performances across the board. And finally, the solution increases adoption of the underlying business application. So one of the biggest challenges of implementing business applications is getting employees to really use them. Things like logging calls or submitting timesheets or really just keeping the data in the system generally up to date. Most companies tend to rely on managerial pressure to achieve that kind of compliance, but instead, gamification awards points only when employees log activities properly and on time. So really, this becomes a highly incentive and effective way for both new and existing employees to become compliant with the business application. So, as I mentioned, employees can earn points for anything they're responsible for in Dynamics 365. For example, they can earn points every time they make the sales call, every time they arrive on site early, or every time they have a quality call by a customer service agent. By allowing them to earn points, they stay engaged longer and they allow themselves to take a little bit more control of their day-to-day activities. So the solution increases adoption of the underlying business applications. One of the biggest challenges of implementing a business application is getting employees to use them. So with that, we can really drive home user adoption after it has been instituted by the system by using things like KPIs related directly to actions inside of Dynamics 365. So gamification offers multiple game models to accommodate different types and sizes of organizations. With fantasy teams, anyone in the company can create their own roster of the players. Everybody can participate, and not just sales and service reps, but for example, managers, executives, operations, finance, R&D can become invested in the success of the players by building their own personal roster or rooting for their favorite team. Employees can change the lineup every week, so if a player starts to slack off or goes on vacation or takes time off for being sick and doesn't earn any points, then they can be swapped out. In addition, there are sports themes that everyone can get excited about, such as soccer, football, baseball, cricket, rugby, etc. And you can level the playing field by using positions. So for example, you can put all the top performers at first base, if you're playing baseball, and all of your new performers at second base and third base. And you can put your customer service agents in left field and your managers in right field. And what this does is this helps get everybody needing to choose somebody from every tier and every role in the organization, and it allows you to break down walls by letting different roles and responsibilities participate in the same game, making them push and rely on each other, even if they're from different groups in the organization. Also, there are fixed team games where you can create teams and assign players for the duration of the contest. This model is great for regional or location-based competitions, such as Office A against Office B against Office C, or if you want to do it, East Coast versus West Coast. And then finally, there are also individual games, which are perfect for small organizations that can't support team competition models and just want to do something like have a President's Cup tracking. So you can use all of these different types of games simultaneously with different groups, and you can change models from game to game to keep things fresh and unique from quarter to quarter or week to week. And employees can earn points for really anything that they are responsible for. So we have multiple ways in which people can earn points and winners, as well as awards for the supporting cast. And the system also comes with the ability to keep individual awards for MVPs. And then, so kind of unlike traditional employee incentives that only motivate a fraction of the team for a fairly short time, gamification motivates the entire team as long as possible. As I mentioned, employee engagement is a top priority for many organizations. So one way to do that is to keep it social, keeping engagement for the duration of the contest with things like smack talk, and allowing employees to also show off their trophy case. So all their past winnings for their past competitions, employees can keep those trophies and show them off and increase the competition amongst themselves and amongst their fellow employees. And of course, we're able to make those results highly visible so that everyone can have bragging rights, either by posting the results or posting leaderboards on television screens around the office, or even also online inside Dynamics 365, or even on your mobile with the Gamification mobile application. So with that, let's go ahead and let's talk about the actual capabilities for Microsoft Gamification. So when we talk about gamification capabilities, we can break down the roles of gamification into these 5 different roles that we see right here. If we look at the left-hand side, we see a role called KPI manager. The KPI manager is the person responsible for setting up the different KPIs inside of gamification. This is typically someone who's probably close to being a system administrator or close to a system administrator function inside of Dynamics 365. And what that person is going to do is define those KPIs inside of CRM in order for the players to use in the games. We also have someone called a game manager. And the game manager is someone whose responsibility it is to actually set up the game. So they're going to choose a game model, whether it's going to be fantasy, fixed, or individual, etc. And then they'll define the metrics and quota for each one of those KPIs, and then also really assign the different positions to the different players and define the prizes for the game. And then finally on the left-hand side, we have someone called the commissioner. The commissioner is someone who oversees all the games. So you can think of them as the boss of the game manager. So a game manager is going to set up a game, but a commissioner is going to oversee all the games. So they're going to oversee multiple game managers. And really, we want the commissioner to be kind of responsible for making sure that all the games are running successfully. So they're going to look at things like role management, make sure that the TV streams in the office are running correctly, and really making sure that everyone's actively engaged. So that's the left side, where we're actually dealing with people who are actively participating in the overall setup of the system. On the right-hand side, let's talk about the people who are really playing and participating in different kinds of ways. So on the left-hand side, we have the fan. So the fan, if you remember, we talked about, is someone who's going to be able to create their teams. So they can set up fantasy teams, change lineups, etc. They're going to be able to watch games and also participate in things like chat. And, of course, they'll be able to view the results of the competition and be able to track those on leaderboards or on whether that's on web, mobile, or television. And really, the fan is typically, in most organizations, someone who's a manager or executive, or really someone who really has a stake in the game that's being performed. But the player those are the people who are actively accumulating the points, as you would imagine. So these are our employees or individuals inside of Dynamics 365 who we are rewarding points to for the actions that they are taking in the system. So we're giving them points really for being compliant, doing the things that we need them to do in the system to make our business application successful and increase our user adoption. So those are, again, our players who earn points, badges, trophies for those individual activities in the system. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and let's dive into the gamification solution. And it only takes a few minutes to kick off a new game. So in this instance, our sales manager for a call center launches a new soccer-themed game where players and fans draft or create their own teams of players. Next, the game manager selects the KPIs for the game and indicates how many points are awarded. Again, KPIs are the behaviors or goals that the organization wants to promote in their business application. And KPIs can be based on data that is tracked inside of Dynamics 365. So for each game, the game manager selects from the default KPIs, which are pre-seeded in the solution, or, as we would recommend, defines new KPIs that are unique to your organization and what your goals are for trying to increase user adoption. It's always a good idea to include some KPIs that reps and agents have full control over, such as things like appointments scheduled or tasks completed or timely submission of time sheets, things like that. This really helps keep more employees in the game longer. Then the game manager assigns players to positions. So players are the sales reps or agents responsible for the activities that earn points by achieving the KPIs. In this game, the players are assigned to different positions like striker, defender, goalie, etc. And this concept helps level the playing field and maximizes participation. So for example, you can assign all the new employees to goalie so they compete directly against each other with similar experience. You can consider not only experience but also other factors such as performance and skills when assigning positions. The more you can level the playing field, the more fair and fun the game is going to be. And this also gets employees needing to choose somebody from different tiers and groups. And it breaks down walls by letting employees from different roles and responsibilities participate in the game while building camaraderie across different silos of the organization. Next, the game manager assigns fans to the game. So fans, as we mentioned, are people in Dynamics 365 who aren't players in the game, typically executives, managers, R&D, or operations, for example, right? Accounting. Fans can really draft a team, and with multiple roles, such as players and fans, everyone in the organization can play. If the CEO gets involved in the game, drafts a team, and is personally looking after player stats, then if you can imagine, that's quite an incentive to deliver the best results that you can. Finally, the game manager defines multiple award categories to recognize achievement and improvement across a variety of KPIs. So offering tiered awards for individuals and teams enables more players to receive recognition. Creating multiple ways to win also helps keep the participants engaged longer and more excited throughout the entire game. So once the game is set up and activated, each player creates a team. Each fan also creates a team. Once teams are set up, then it's time to kick off. The player or fan who creates the team acts as the team manager and can change the team roster or select different players. So for example, after a week of competition, the team manager can drop a lower performing player for another player in hopes of increasing his team's chances of winning, just like fantasy sports in real life. So once the game is underway, then participants track team performance with the leaderboards that show each player and fans drafted to the most successful teams. You can showcase top employees by streaming results and rankings to big screens across the office or the call center. The added social pressure really helps give an extra boost to the lower performers in the game, and it allows them to also celebrate achievements, with fanfare such as like fireworks, touchdowns, etc. And then additional leaderboards recognize individual achievements. So before we talked about being able to track your individual performance with your trophy case. This is what we're talking about right here. So the game MVP leader, they can see players which earn the most points in the current game. There's also leader by position, so you can see how players rank in the available positions. There's a designation called KPI leader, so you can see how players rank overall in the awarded KPIs. And then finally, there's the weekly KPI leader. So you can see how players rank in a given week for a specific KPI. Throughout the game, players and fans can engage and interact, whether it's bragging about achievements, giving kudos, or cheering others on. But that's just a highlight of how Microsoft helps organizations create a fun and vibrant environment for employees to excel. Do we have any questions?
We don't have any questions yet, but ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to add in your question on the Messages tab there, please just type it into the white text box and click on Send. And while we give you just a few moments to enter those questions, I have posted a link to a short survey in the Messages tab there. We'd greatly appreciate it if you could take a moment to access it and provide us with your feedback. The survey scores are on a scale from 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest score possible. And with that, let's see, James, if any questions have come in. None so far. Anything top of mind or final words from you?
Nothing from me, Leslie.
All right, super. Then I'll go ahead and wrap things up here. Attendees, you will be able to access the web conference via the same link you used to join this live session. I'd like to extend a great big thank you to you, James, and thank you, audience, for logging in and joining us. Have a great day.